G'day, brew day. Excuse my voice, I've still got the flu. Today is going to be a mid-strength NEXPA
Kveik
yeast beer. Whatever that is, but you know, I've really loved having the Jedi juices by both my versions on tap. It's been really good. I'm a hophead, as most people realise. So I just want something a little bit lower in alcohol so I can have a few more. And I've brewed many XPAs and mid-strength, what I call XPAs, and mid-strength type beers before. Actually, just recently, that beer healer person, I hadn't heard of him until then, and I don't mean any offence by that. I just, you know, sometimes you just don't cross paths. My mate Damo had sent him one of my recipes for XPA. He brewed it and he liked it. Mine's going to be different today. I'm doing a single batch in the BREWZILLA, which I've been asked to do a lot of times. I have done 3 or 4 before. I did them as full volume mashers. And while the beers turned out perfectly fine, the efficiency was way down. The wort was a bit murky. I think with all that water and a small grain bill inside the Robo Brew, you know, it's a wide base, and your mash thickness or height of your mash might only be small. And with all that water and circulation, you don't really get very good filtration. I was going to use a bag today, but just in case people don't want to use a bag, then I just put a bag in there. I'm not going to use the bag, and I'm going to do a sparge. I'm going to start with 26 litres of hot water here. I am going to add my salts. I'm going to salt it like an NIPA. And then I'll do the mash thing for an hour or so, maybe a little bit longer because there's some oats and stuff in it, wheat. And I'll sparge. What did I work it out with? With about 10 litres of water. It'll be about 36 litres all up, which is more than what I normally use in the Robo Brew for a single batch. But again, the vessel's wider, there'll be more dead space, and if I don't want to tip it up and get all the trube and stuff in it, I'll just need to brew a little bit more, you know. It'll be 4.5 kilo of grain all up, 3 kilo of ale malt. I made a very simple recipe: 3 kilo of ale malt, 500 gram of wheat malt, 500 gram of quick oats, and 500 gram of Munich. Happens to be Wyman, I think I've got at the moment. That'll do for the grain bill. I'm going to hop it briefly, probably lightly I should say, probably with about 10 grams at 60. I'm going to use the halito again since I've got it there and it's been opened. And then I'm going to throw in, at probably 1 minute left in the boil, 20 grams of Citra, Mosaic, Amarillo. I'll turn it off, let it settle, and I'm going to no-chill this. This is going to be a no-chill one. I'll whack it into the cube, and just so I know it doesn't get down under 30 overnight, because it possibly could. It'd probably be close if I just left it, but if it, just in case, I'll whack it in the fridge overnight, in my fermenter fridge, and set it to 30. So if it goes to, I want it fermented about 30 degrees, I'll probably raise it up to 35 over a week. And that's about it. I'm going to use the Voss yeast. Let's get into it. This will be a quick recipe video. I've been trying to keep them quick, but they've been getting very long. This will be a quick one. If anything goes wrong or something unusual happens, I'll upload that extra footage on the Patreon, on my Patreon page, where that sort of stuff goes. Thanks to my Patreons, like, subscribe, press the bell so you get notified on our videos. I know you're probably getting sick of people saying that, but it's really important to support us this way, otherwise we just can't keep doing what we do. So in there I've got, it's looking like it's nearly at 27, which means that's 26 litres in my vessel. So I'm going to put the malt pipe in, get this malt sorted out. We're at 72 degrees, I'm going to mash at 68. Everybody knows that wheat hates us all. So what I'm going to do is this 500 grams of wheat, I'm going to just run it through first. run that through the mill first, then I'll bung that back in with the rest of the grain and run it through again. The rest of the grain will only go through once, but the wheat will go through twice. There's my crush. Lots of nice whole but cracked husks, and that's mostly due to the grain conditioning, the wet conditioning. They're all cracked. You can just see how many are nice and big and not shredded. Alright, I've put my salts in, my lactic acid. I've turned the temperature down to 68, it was at 72. I want to mash at 68, so I've turned it down before I put the grain in. I haven't put the oats in yet, I'll put the oats in after I've stirred this in. This looks pretty good, this consistency. It's probably still a bit thin. I probably could have went a bit lower in strike order maybe. I haven't put the porridge in yet, or the oats. I'll just let that soak in. I'll go and weigh up my oats. And there's my 500 grams of quick oats. Lowen's brand this time. You can use regular oats, but you're better off you cooking them first. Quick oats, as well as cooking quicker, they mash quicker. Like when you use rice, which I probably will do a rice lager soon. You cook it first. That's a good looking mash consistency too. Alright, let's get this pump on. We shouldn't have any worries with flow, even though there's wheat and oats. Pretty thin mash bed. Still not going to go full bore. Just a slow flow to start with. See what happens, eh? Shouldn't be too much issues. Rice hulls would help, of course. There's all this wheat and porridge. I suppose there's still a kilo in there, isn't there? If you add the oats and wheat together. And it is 10:41. I'll come back in 5 minutes or so and just check the pH. I'm not too worried, and I'm not going to adjust it. I'm just interested to see with this bigger water amount and the salts added whether I got it anywhere near right. I'm just going to take a sample for the pH. It's been over 10 minutes now, just over 10 minutes. Right, I might just pump it up for a minute. I want a nice even mix of wort for the pH test. It's actually starting to clear up. It will be a bit cloudy, of course, from the wheat and the oats. I can't see any bits in it or anything. That'll do for my pH testing. I'm going to whack that, cover that and whack it in the freezer. You get it down to temp. Just around, you know, 20, 25 degrees. 20 is perfect, but you can't always be perfect with these things. We've been in 70 minutes. I'm not going to do a conversion test. I'm pretty sure that will have been converted in that time. But if you wanted to do an iodine test, now would be the time. And then go into your mash out. There's the basket pulled. Alright, that should have been sparged about 10 litres. That should get me to where I want. It depends on how much water or wort that grain's going to hold on to. So it is 36 litres and 4.5 kilo of grain. You're looking at it holding about 4 litres. So I should end up with about 32 litres in the boiler. I should lose about 4 litres to 4 litres in the boil, That gets me down to 28ish. And if I leave like 4 litres behind, 24, it's about where I want to be. I want to have a little bit of excess. I don't want to have too little work because I'm going into the cube. I don't want to also waste too much as well, you know. Not much more to see here. It's just draining through. Once I can tell it's slowed right down, I'll just lift the basket up a little because it's a bit hard to see with only like sort of half full. And I'll see where the level's up to. If I need to let it drain, I'll let it drain a bit more. That's gotta be getting close. So that's about 30. We're at about 32, so that's only 31. I might just run 1 more litre through. Just something like that. Just to speed it up a bit so I don't have to wait for it to drain. We're getting very close now. We're somewhere between the 32, 33 is where I wanted to be. We're closer to the 33 now. I've tipped it up and just helped it along. That will do me. Put this outside. Alright, so there we are. There's a bit of chit in it, which is happens all the time. Doesn't look like too much. I will filter it out as we're coming up to boil. You can see I've pulled out quite a bit of chit. That wouldn't hurt the brew if it was in there really, but of course, you know, you'd rather get it out. That's why I think I'll use a bag if I'm going to do single batches in it. I mean, there's going to be nothing wrong with this beer, but you won't get, if you used a bag in it, you wouldn't get that. I think a lot of that is to do with the very thin mash bed, because it doesn't seem to happen when I do a double batch in this or a single batch in the BREWZILLA, or Robo Brew, the other one. Yeah, it just seems to be when I do single batches in this that I tend to get a lot of chit. There's a lot more than I usually get. A lot also floats to the top, so if you're careful like that you can get a little bit more. That's all I'm going to worry about. I'm not going to worry about if there's any more in there. I'm coming up to the boil now. So I've nearly lost, probably from all that splashing, I've lost a lot of through evaporation. Nearly a litre already. Well, we've come to the boil. I'll take a quick reading before I put the hops in. Time is at 12:45. 10 grams of halito. Now I'm aiming an original Gabriel of 0.43. So I guess my pre-boil would be something like 0.37. 36, 37. Where are we? Oh, what can I see? It's all steamed up. Oh, and we are at 37, spot on. See that? 37. All right, that's good. That's perfect. It's about 10 minutes left, so I've got one of these. These don't break. Make sure if you're going to do this, you've got a good one. Just get a bit of hot wort out. I'm going to put my Wurflock and my PVPP in there, and just give it a stir. And I could just use a half, but since that's the last one in that packet, I'll put the whole lot in. And I think I've got some PVP left, PP left in here. I do. This is really for the PVPP, and I'll just put in whatever's left in here too. It's usually like a big spoonful. That's not, I usually put a bit more than that in, but that's going to have to do for today. I've got another packet. I have to stress about these things. Give it a stir. As well, see, if you don't do this with a PVP, sometimes it clumps up and can just stick to the side, especially if you're using bags or something. So it's good just to get it in some hot work, give it a mix. I never used to. I used to dump it in, but you know, Alright, there's 1 minute to go. 60 grams of hops. Now you don't want to let that go any longer than the 1 minute. That just makes sure it's mixed up. I could do a whirlpool or something, or a steep, but I'd like just to put it in even 30 seconds. And then just to make sure it gets into your wort properly before you steep. There we go. That's been 1 minute. So we can turn off the elements. Alright. Now I'm just going to give it a good, what the old days everyone used to whirlpool for, to make a tube cone. You don't have to do this. You can use the hose, you can use the pump. People buy special fittings and things, but you don't need it. You really, really don't. You watch at the end of this and see if this made anything, or they just scrape it all. I used to just do it for about 30 seconds in my other pot, my 3V system, and that's all you needed to do. I'm just going to give this another couple of minutes. This is still moving around, but I'm just going to get it in. It's been 5 minutes. 10 minutes will probably be better to leave it sitting there. But I've got things to do today. We're up a bit. We're 45. Yeah, it's a bit blurry. We're probably just over 45. There we go. So we're up a little bit. I still think I got a lot of evaporation from all that splashing. I was down a litre more than I wanted to be. That wouldn't help. And it's things like that. It will also put you down in volume, but it's another reason why I always brew a little bit over volume. Usually set it to 24 litres, even though this probably only holds 22. Just, you know, you never know what's going to happen. But, we are full. Don't worry about trying to squeeze this hair out. It is just silly. There's no need for it. There'll be hardly any air left in this one once this cools. It's ridiculous, and you'll do more damage to yourself than trying to squeeze it out. Now, like 60 grams doesn't look like much, and I just bumped it with the hose in. But it's a bit hard to tell, but you can see that there's a large, can you see? There's a large cone in the middle, and not much around the outside. So that's it for brew day. Everything went pretty smoothly. I was up a couple of points. But I was down a little bit on my amount. I'm pretty sure that was to do when I was coming up to the boil and going through those sieves. There was a lot of splashing, which would promote, one, it would promote the wort to cool down, and one, also I would think it would help some evaporate at the same time, even though that sounds contradictory. I'm pretty sure it would do both of those things. I did notice I was nearly down a litre by the time I came to the boil. Other than that, everything went smoothly. I was set at 72%. I'll muck around in Beer Smith later. I might be able to bump it up, especially when I'm not using things like wheat and oats. I might be able to bump it up to the 75, 76 like I do normally. But I think that sparge really helped. I've heard a lot of people say they do full volume mashes and don't lose efficiency. I kind of, every time I've tried it, in every situation over the years, I've always lost a little bit. It hasn't really been a lot to worry about, and you might not worry about it either. It might only mean a couple of 100 grams of grain, or you might not even worry about it at all. But I just like the idea of the sparging, and I think I got a better grain bed, and everything just went a lot smoother. I will try it with a bag next time. I'll take the centre pipe out. I'm either going to plug that hole totally, or if I'm using a bag, it doesn't even matter. You don't have to put anything in that hole. Anyway, that's it for today. Tomorrow I will whack it in the fermenter with the Kveik
Kveik.
yeast. Alright, cheers.